The dungeons in Fae Farm play a very important role in the story, as well as resource gathering for upgrades. Here are some very important tips and tricks for the dungeons in Fae Farm. The first very important tip is to make use of your dungeon tracker. It can be found in the menu settings, and you can select the dungeon that you need information on. This will pull up the full menu of all the floors in the dungeon, which show you the resource chance in each floor, as well as which seal you need to put into the teleporter. There are 6 different seal types for each dungeon, and you will need 4 of each, bringing you to 24 seals total. They will use 2 different ore types as well as 2 different gem types. This tool is super helpful as you can keep track of what floor you are on, how many of each seal you still need, and more. It saves a lot of time when making seals because you can access it from anywhere instead of having to go back to the dungeon. I recommend crafting as many of the seals as you can at the beginning, as it makes it easier to get to the floors you'll need in order to farm for resources in the future. In order to make the most use of your dungeon visits, make sure to build yourself a cooking hearth and a prep table so that you can cook bigger meals. These meals restore higher amounts of energy, and so processing any food is better than just eating forage items like blueberries. The first ones you unlock restore 50 energy, which is a decent amount to help you gather some more resources before you have to head back to your homestead. It also helps to buy potions such as health or mana potions, as they can be very helpful when you've been battling a lot of enemies or using a lot of magic spells. Picking berries can also help you get a little bit of extra energy if you need it, as you can get a large amount of them all around Azoria, but they shouldn't be your main source of energy. As you gather more resources, you will notice that different resources take more hits in order for you to fully gather them. This is because they scale based on your tool, and they all have different levels that you need to hit. So for this, I recommend making tool upgrades your priority so that you have an easier time getting resources over time. This means mining as much of the ore needed for your upgrades that you can, such as iron, silver, or the other ones. Make sure you upgrade your pickaxe first before your other tools. This is because your pickaxe is what you will be using in order to mine the ore that you need for upgrades, so by upgrading your pickaxe first, you will be able to upgrade your other tools faster. When it comes to the enemies that you will encounter in the mines, they will aggro to you and start casting a spell that often has an animation that lasts 1 to 2 seconds and is very easy to recognize. You can attack some of these enemies in the middle of their animation, which will stop the animation, and then you can chain attack them until they are defeated. Some enemies, however, like the ones that float in the air for the animation, you cannot cancel this animation, and you should try to bait it out before attacking them. This way you can wait for them to cast their attack, and then you can move in to hit them without getting hit yourself. This is a good practice to use overall, not just on the floating enemies. You should be using them on all of the enemies that you see. It will help you get hit less over time so that you don't have to make so many trips back to get more health. A very important tip is also to know that you do not lose anything when you faint in the dungeons. Unlike other farming sims where you can lose items or coins, there is absolutely no risk from fainting in the mines. This brings me to my next tip. If you are defeated by an enemy but still have energy left, you can just keep continuously going back into the mines to get more resources, as long as you avoid getting hit by more enemies. If you do get hit again, you can just repeat this process. This tip isn't very efficient for mining, but it is very helpful when you just need a few more pieces of ore and you don't want to go all the way back to the homestead to get more health potions. Sometimes you might need to farm a bunch of resources, but you do not want to fight sprites, as they can make the process slower, or maybe you just hate fighting the sprites in general. There is a potion that can eliminate the need to fight any of them as long as you do not hit them first. You can buy or craft the Gone potion, which turns you invisible for a limited amount of time. You can go near any enemies and they will not attack you. You are 100% safe as long as you do not initiate combat with them yourself, and the effect will wear off completely if you do. So be careful, as you can waste a potion if you do this. This potion has been very helpful for me, as there have been many times where I've needed a lot of ore or gems and I just didn't feel like having to fight every single enemy every single time I wanted to farm them. Especially when you need a large quantity, it can get kind of annoying having to kill all of the enemies in the dungeon and you just want to get in and out with the resources that you need. It's also extremely helpful if you're just someone who doesn't want to fight the enemies in the first place, or if you just want to go through the mines really fast for the sake of the story. Either way, it works for a lot of different situations. Those are all of my tips to help you in the Fae Farm dungeons. Please subscribe if this video helped you, and thank you so much for watching as usual.